Sunday night in Winnipeg, Maple Leafs forward Jason Spezza delivered a reckless and retaliatory knee to the head of Jets defenseman Neal Pionk, causing an injury. As the video shows, in the third period of a contentious game, the Leafs chip the puck in deep behind the Jets' goal. Spezza picks up the puck and is immediately poke-checked by Pionk, who loses his stick in the process. Spezza carries the puck around the top of the circle, with Pionk guarding in a defensive position. Spezza attempts to move the puck through traffic to a teammate, but it bounces away and into the high slot. Pionk, still without his stick, gets low to make a play on the puck with his hand. As he does so, Spezza pinches down from the blue line to deliver a check. As he attempts to deliver the hit, Spezza shifts his weight to his right leg and picks his left leg off the ice slightly. With his left knee now in front of him, he leans into an attempted body check. This hitting motion drives his knee directly into the head of Pionk with force, causing an injury. As outlined by the collective bargaining agreement, it is important to note the prior events which occurred in the game which led to this play. A little over a minute before this incident occurred, Pionk injured Maple Leafs defenseman Rasmus Sandin with a knee-to-knee check, a hit for which Pionk has been suspended. Spezza acknowledges that he was aware that the player he was checking was Pionk. The Maple Leafs and Spezza made three arguments on today's hearing. First, the Maple Leafs argue that this is not kneeing. We disagree, as this is clearly a case in which Spezza's leading knee makes direct and forceful contact with his opponent. We also note that there is past precedent of our department penalizing knees to an opponent's head under the kneeing rule. Second, both the Maple Leafs and Spezza argued that Pionk is eligible to be checked on this play, and we agree. While every play is different, there is no league rule against hitting a player who is low to the ice, provided the hit is delivered in an otherwise legal fashion. However, it is important to note that it is often extremely difficult to deliver a legal check to a player in a vulnerable position, and the onus remains on the player throwing the check to adjust himself to ensure the hit is delivered legally. In addition, the vulnerable position the player is in means there may be an increased danger of significant injury. The player throwing the check assumes both the added difficulty of delivering a legal body check and the increased risks that accompany the hit, and, as outlined in the CBA, is responsible for the consequences of his actions. Finally, Spezza argued that he would have been able to deliver this check legally had Pionk not fallen further toward the ice, materially changing the position of his head after Spezza had already committed to the hit. We do not agree. While Pionk does swing his arm and turn his torso while making a play on the puck, his head remains on a consistent plane and track throughout the hit. At no point does Spezza get low enough to the ice to ensure that anything other than his lower body is going to make contact with Pionk. Ultimately, while we believe that Spezza's long history of clean play supports his argument that he does not intentionally drive his knee into the head of Pionk, this is a play in which he is attempting to enact forceful retribution on a player who is in a vulnerable position. The onus is on Spezza to ensure the hit is delivered legally. Instead, during his attempt to execute a difficult and dangerous check, he drives his knee into the head of an opponent in a reckless fashion and causes an injury. To summarize, this is kneeing. Pionk suffered an injury on the play. Spezza has been neither fined nor suspended previously in his 1,203-game NHL career. The Department of Player Safety has suspended Jason Spezza for 6 games.
Okay, let's go to Neal Pionk hits Rasmus Sandin, and that begins a chain of events in the Winnipeg-Toronto game this weekend. First of all, here's the, and I will say there's a knee in our game tonight. Kerfoot got clipped. It's a tough call for a referee. Yes, there have been. You're right, Elliot. And I always come back to that, if you take hooking and holding out of the game, then you're going to have the possibility of these kinds of
We were talking about that watching the game, right? That there's no other way for the players to try to slow down their opponents.
Which leads to Jason Spezza's furor. And when he's in a rage, for me, he's now issued the threat, and that adds to the culpability, the responsibility, so that when he makes the hit, he's in real trouble. How do you guys feel?
The appeal is just so on. The appeal is Tuesday, and I've heard that one of the biggest challenges for Spezza to get this reduced will be that piece of video. I think that's going to be a challenge.
That's a predatory hit by Spezza. You know, I really feel for the guy because he's never been suspended before. I mean, a fantastic spokesperson for the game, and he's done all the right things, but that was a really nasty hit, and if it sticks at 6 games, I can live with that.
This one just seems so surprising because there's been so many great things to talk about with Spezza this season and how well he's doing and the great person that he is and the character that he's brought. So that's why to see this react, there's one thing to be intense on the bench and clearly he wants to stand up for his teammates, but there still has to be some sense of control. So for him to go out and to see a player in a vulnerable position, there has to be just some element of restraint. You know me, I'm big on player safety. So when it's to the head, the suspension seems fair.
But you personally, you were a 2-time Patty Kazmaier Award winner. So that's Hobie Baker for the women's university hockey. And then you became a leader of Team Canada. As you got more and more responsibility, Jen, did you find that you felt a little bit more anguish when things weren't going well or somebody on your team was attacked and you kind of mentally snap if you weren't careful?
Well, but exactly. But that's the fine line between intensity but still having some level of control because Spezza's so invested on this team and he wants this team to do so well. I think that's a natural reaction, but it can't cross the line. He became out of control when he executed that hit against Pionk.
I've crossed the line many times and I've snapped, but there is a punishment for it. That's a fact.
I do want to say this. At the Board of Governors, there were a lot of teams who felt, Ron, that Spezza got punished, Pionk got injured and punished. What they wanted to know was what the referees were told because they felt that the referees let that game get out of hand and that they should know how they were informed about not to let that happen again.
Kevin Bieksa said that Logan Stanley and Wayne Simmons should have been allowed to fight. That was not the referee's responsibility, but he thought that maybe they jumped in a little early at a moment that could have diffused the tension. Other than that, he was okay with the suspensions. 2 quick anthem things. Last night in Vancouver, a humorous moment when, in fact, in Vancouver at Rogers Arena, we'll hear this.
We see thee rise, the strong and...
I mean, that is extremely hospitable, but it didn't go over well with a lot of the Vancouver Canucks fans. That's crazy, but congratulations. The Canucks have won 3 in a row. Way to go, Bruce. And lastly, Bowling Green, Kentucky was the epicenter, but for the tornadoes roaring through 3 states in the United States this evening, really sad and tragic news there. And this was the emotional send-off with the anthem tonight in St. Louis. The whole crowd sings.
I think once the puck drops, I don't know what it is, but it just clicks in my head. Different side of me comes out.
I try to separate the two lives. Get that nervous energy in my stomach that I love. Get you dialed in, ready to go.
Once it starts, we go.
Zendaya just said to me something, Elliot. He said, enough euphoria. Get off. Let's get on to my movie. It's going to be just fantastic. For the first time in cinematic history, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is unmasked, crashing his normal life with the high stakes of being a superhero. Tom Holland and Zendaya star in the blockbuster Spider-Man No Way Home, where everything will be revealed. It's coming to a theater near you this Thursday. Tickets are on sale now.
So MJ's gonna forget about everything we've ever been through?
Stop tampering with the spell.
What just happened?
Multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little.